In the last 3 years, ChatGPT has radically transformed how businesses operate. From normal use cases like giving tasks to ChatGPT all the way to operating AI agents, AI technology is here, and in this video, I'm going to give you a crash course on one of the most fundamental tools, ChatGPT. You're either watching this video because you just found it on YouTube, or you're watching this because you're going to be attending one of my workshops. Either way, I'm glad you're here, and let's dive in. Here are the topics that we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you a big picture. We're going to talk about subscription costs, models and their functions, risks and limitations. I'm going to give you a quick start guide, teach you some of the most fundamental prompting tips, and I'm going to show you some of my personal use cases and how I currently use this technology in my business. The main premise is that all knowledge-based work can be done 40% more efficiently with ChatGPT. This was done in 2023 with GPT-4. So since then, a lot of more better models came out, and this number is even higher at the moment. When most people say AI, they are mostly referring to LLMs, so tools like ChatGPT. And you can think of these as like smart autocomplete coworkers. I really like Ethan Mollick's description of this, and he says that you have to treat the AI like an infinitely patient, enthusiastic new coworker who forgets everything you say with each new conversation. AIs get smarter every year with more and more training. Today, AI tools like ChatGPT can read, write, see, think, talk, or even run certain tools. And AIs get smarter every year with more and more training, which means there's going to be more reliability, fewer mistakes, better results, and more tool use as we move forward into the future. So you can think of AI tools like ChatGPT as they are a Swiss Army knife. And as they get better and more accurate, more and more knowledge work tasks will be replaced or enhanced by AI. Automations and agents are already radically transforming workflows, and we're seeing small teams with over $1 billion of evaluation putting employees at roughly $50 to $100 million per year. So just by using AI the right way, you can massively improve how profitable your company is. Now let's talk a little bit about the fundamental technology behind these large language models. The most important thing that you have to understand is that these models don't necessarily fully understand words the same way that humans do. They use what we call tokens, which costs us money and it costs us speed as well. As you can see in this example, where I say large language models use tokens to represent words. These are color-coded, and as you can see, they all have a certain ID. So essentially what the language model sees are just these IDs and the assigned vectors to these. So these language models don't process the words, they process the numbers behind it. If you're interested in this more, I'm going to link 3 Blue 1 Brown's amazing playlist about AI and large language models if you want to get really technical into this. It's not necessary for any of the workshops that we're doing, nor is it necessary for you to be able to use these tools really well, but that's just for those who are really curious. Now, as these AI tools use tokens, the less tokens that you put into your prompt and the less tokens you ask for, it's gonna get faster and cheaper. Tokens are important because there is another fundamental thing in large language models, which is called the context window, which is the maximum amount of tokens the model can process at once. In most LLMs, if it's a chat-based tool like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude, it is going to be the end of the chat. Now, every LLM has a different input, which is a prompt context, and an output, which is a response context window. So I cannot tell you that large language models have a certain number because for all of them, it's different. However, most top LLMs today that you use far exceed basic business needs for context windows, so you don't really need to worry about this. There is a fascinating website called artificialanalysis.ai where you can compare a lot of language models, almost all of them, in a lot of different parameters like their intelligence level, speed, price, even the context windows, so you can learn more about these tools. I don't want to overwhelm you. This is for non-technical people. I mean, this video and the workshops. So if you want to dive deep into this, if you want to nerd out on it, I highly recommend this website. Now in ChatGPT, you have three main tiers that you can subscribe to. First of all, you have the free plan that gives you some limited access to the smaller, less powerful models like GPT 4.1 mini, limited access to GPT 4.0 and OpenAI o4 mini, and very limited access to file uploads and a lot of features. So most people who start using ChatGPT on the free plan actually get disappointed that this is not strong or good enough for them. They think that, oh, this AI is dumb, it's not there yet, and they kind of skip it. I highly recommend you to upgrade to the Plus plan for at least a month. If you're attending any of the workshops, this is mandatory, so please subscribe to the Plus plan for the duration of the workshop. Now, if you are not coming to a workshop, I highly recommend you upgrade to the Plus plan because it will give you pretty much everything you need with certain limits. I'm on the Pro plan just because I am educating people on how to use these tools, so I'm a power user. But for most people, like 99% of people out there doing some kind of knowledge work, entrepreneurs, I highly recommend that you just sign up for the Plus plan for a couple of months. And if you hit your rate limits, it's gonna tell you like, hey, no more OpenAI o3 credits. You have to subscribe to the Pro plan, and that will give you unlimited access to these and a lot of other credits for deep research. Oh, and by the way, I'm not affiliated with OpenAI, so this is just a recommendation. This is not a sponsorship or anything. Now, there are two more subscription tiers, or it's more of a different way of setting up your ChatGPT accounts. So if you have a team that you want to manage their access to ChatGPT, you can set up a team account or an enterprise account. Now, I recommend that you stay on the Plus plan and just turn off the training for all of the employees. I'm gonna show you how to do this in a second, and we're gonna set up your account. With the team plan, you get a few more things like very strong support for compliance with GDPR and so on, like these certain types of security criteria that some of your contracts and confidential information might require. But most of you're not getting anything else on a team plan compared to a Plus plan. And I actually saw that it's a little bit more limited, even though it costs more. So for example, you cannot share a chat from anywhere outside the workspace. So if I create something inside ChatGPT, I want to share the chat and I have a team account, nobody else can see this, only those people who are within the team workspace. And if someone leaves the company, you cannot export their data and you cannot transfer that to a personal account. So I recommend that everybody has their own Plus accounts. If you want, the company can pay for it and reimburse these people. And for the enterprise, that's for people who are, enterprise level. I recommend you contact the sales if you have teams of more than 1,000 people and ask them to help set this up for you. Now let's set up your ChatGPT account. If you go to chatgpt.com, this is what you will see. And on the top right, you will see that you have to log in or sign up for free. So if you don't have a ChatGPT account, follow these steps and sign up for free. And if you do, just skip ahead. So once we click on that button, it's gonna tell us to create an account. So type in your email address and then click continue. Or if you want to, you can just use your Google, Microsoft, or Apple account. Then type in a password and click continue. Now you're going to receive an inbox verification code. So go check your email and type in that 6-digit code. And once you have your verification code, just click continue. Now this is going to ask you about a couple of personal things like your name and your birthday. You can type that in here if you want, or you can just use an alias if you are concerned about your privacy. Then you can click continue. And now we are greeted with a ChatGPT onboarding, which is briefly about asking here, ChatGPT can answer your questions, help you learn, write code, and so on. Don't share sensitive info, so that's a good call out. The chat history may be reviewed or used to improve our services. Learn more about your choices in the help center. And check your facts. This is also important. While we have safeguards, ChatGPT may give you inaccurate information. It's not intended to give advice. Okay, let's go. And then it shows you the ChatGPT now has memory. For now, I'm not gonna tell you to enable this. You can enable this if you want to. The whole point of this is that it will sometimes remember useful details and preferences about you. I found this to be a little bit misleading when it comes to ongoing and longer chats. So for best performance, it's better to not enable it. I have it enabled, and it requires a lot of energy to keep it totally up to date and make sure that it's not triggering any kind of weird behavior. So for now, let's not enable it. If you have it enabled, don't turn it off. It's totally fine. Now, you can see this interface here. If you haven't used ChatGPT, here you can just ask, whatever you want. This is where basically you put in your prompt. Now, it can also enable you to add photos and files, add from apps, and you can also have a couple of tools that you can try. So you can try reasoning, you can run a deep research, and so on. I'm going to talk about these later. There are a couple of things that are missing from the left. This left side is where you will see your chat history. Now we don't have any chats, so that's why we don't see that. And in GPTs, you can see that I cannot create a new GPT. I'm going to tell you how to create a GPT in a bit. But right now, what we need to do is to upgrade the plan. So click on upgrade plan. It's going to show you the, whatever pricing it is for your country. So let's sign up to the Plus plan. Just click on this Get Plus button. And here you can fill in your billing information and then click on Pay and Subscribe. Okay, once you have that, not many things change, but this is now my account, my pro account. And notice how on the left here you can select different models. You can now see some of the GPTs if you might have one. If you click on GPTs, you can now create one. And you also see these projects, which will be helpful for organizing your chats. And then you will also see your chat history. If you're sharing your screen with someone like I do, you might want to just hide the sidebar so they don't see any of your chat history and you can focus on one chat at a time. Now, before we get into any of the features, let's make sure we have a couple of settings taken care of. So click on your monogram on the top right corner. And here it's going to open up this drop down and I want you to click on settings. Now here in the general, I'm going to go through all of these settings. The theme, you can set it for system or dark and light. Always show code when using data analyst. This is helpful if you know a little bit about code. It doesn't have to be. It can show follow-up suggestions in the chat. You can change the language here. You can manage your archived chats. You can archive all of your chats. You can delete all of your chats, or you can log out on this device. And for notifications, you can set push notifications. This will send messages to you to your phone app or to your desktop app if you have that installed. Personalization are basically two main categories. The first one is customization, which is what we call custom instructions. Here you can tell ChatGPT how to call you, what do you do. If you enable this, then you can edit it. So what should ChatGPT call you? What do you do? And then what traits do you want ChatGPT to have? I currently have this turned off. I tried this Socratic Copilot versus Oracle mode, but I ended up just asking it Oracle mode all the time. So I figured that this is not the best way for me to use this. It still remembers how it should call me and what I do. The way this works is that this is sent in the beginning of every single chat that you start with ChatGPT. So whatever you type in here will be sent in the beginning of each conversation. In advanced, you can enable or disable any of these features. I recommend you turn all of these on. And then for the memory, it can reference saved memories about you. So if you click on Manage Memories, it will show you all of the previous histories that you have. All of the memories are sent in the beginning of the chat as well. So it's very important to keep these memories up to date. And you can reference your entire chat history. So it will reference all previous conversations when responding. I'm still testing what's the best way to keep these. I found that whenever I turn this on, it tends to fall back into like the old things it knows about me instead of just relying on its own training. So feel free to experiment with this. Some people say it's not the best to keep this chat history on because it kind of confuses and overloads the model. Now for the voice, you can select a couple of voices here. I'm not gonna go deep into that. For data controls, now this is the most important thing. Improve the model for everyone. I highly recommend you turn this off, because if this is on, then everything you upload to ChatGPT, even sensitive company information, is going to be used to train ChatGPT and train the model. And this is a significant privacy and security risk for businesses, in my opinion. So I just recommend everybody to turn this off and make it mandatory for your team members to also have this turned off if they are using any kind of company data to, inside ChatGPT. So if they're using ChatGPT for work, which they should be, then this switch should be off. If you sign them up on a team or an enterprise plan, this will be off by default and it cannot be turned on. So this is only for those who either use the free, the plus, or the pro plan, because here you can select if you want this on and off. Under shared links, you can invalidate, you can delete any of the chats that you have shared before, or you can view the source chat to open each chat. I'm going to show you in a second how you can share the chat. And if you want to, you can export the data. This is just going to send all of your conversations to you in an email, or you can just delete your entire account. Your builder profile is for creating GPTs and sharing them. So you can add your domain here, you can add your LinkedIn, GitHub, or X accounts, and so on. You can also enable connectors. So ChatGPT can access information from these connected apps. For the purpose of the workshop and this crash course, we're not going to worry about that. The secure sign-in is used for Operator, which is a computer using agent. It's still in a very early version, and as you can see, I don't have any secure sign-ins. You cannot add them here, but if you use Operator, it's going to start populating it here. From a security perspective, multi-factor authentication, I recommend that you enable this later on. So you can use your two-factor authentication apps to make sure your account is secure and no one else can log in with just an email and the password. And if you suspect someone is using your account, you can just log out all devices with this button and every other device will be logged out. And then for the subscription, here is where you can manage your subscription. You can downgrade or upgrade to a plan, manage your billing information, download your invoices, and so on. Okay, so let's talk about the models and the model selector. We can divide AI models inside ChatGPT into two main categories. The first one being the transformer and the other one being the reasoners. So the transformers, the way that you can distinguish them is that all reasoning models have O in the beginning of the name and they do not use GPT. So for the transformers, the best one to use is GPT 4.5. This is currently in research preview, and it is the biggest model, but it's also the most expensive for OpenAI to run. So on the Plus plan, you will be limited on how much you can use this. For GPT 4.0, it will also have some limits. That's the second best model to use. Then you can use GPT 4.1, which is a slightly cheaper and faster model than GPT 4.0, and then GPT 4.1 mini is the cheapest and worst model. Now, I'm even scared to say this because I think as I publish this video, in a couple months down the line, this is going to be totally outdated because OpenAI updates their models all the time. So this is the current hierarchy. I recommend you always check which ones are the best models for your use cases. And then for the reasoning models, basically each number increase is good, but mini is bad. So O3 is the best right now because O4 mini is worse than O3. So O4 would be better than O3, but O4 mini is worse. O4 mini high means that we are using the same model as O4 mini, but we are giving it more computing power. And then there's another reasoning model, which is O1 Pro mode, which is a legacy version. I mainly use two models, which is O3, uses advanced reasoning. I use this for most of my questions and my tasks. And I use GPT 4.5 whenever I want to use a transforming model that I don't want it to think too much. I wanted to have more word knowledge because GPT 4.5 was trained on a lot more knowledge than o3, but o3 can use the web to find the sources for itself. So I use o3 for most of my day-to-day use cases, as that is the most powerful model available to me. And as I'm on the unlimited plan, I don't have to worry about my quota. On the Plus plan at the moment, you get 50 messages per week on o3 only. And after that, it's going to tell you to upgrade to the Pro plan or to wait for the next week to be able to reset your credits. So if you use o3 most of the time and then maybe your fallback is just going to be GPT-4o, you will see a noticeable difference between how differently these two models perform. Now, as for the features, you can add photos and files. This is what I use very often. So if you take a photo or you take a screenshot, o3 and other GPT models can see what's on the photo and it can like understand it. And for files, it can open and process it. On the workshops, we're going to discuss these features in a very practical and very focused way. And I'm also going to be making videos about each of these features. So feel free to browse my channel and look for these videos. And then for tools, you can ask it to create an image, you can ask it to search the web, you can ask it to write or code, or you can ask it to run deep research. Now, other than deep research, I just tell it to do these things with the words without selecting these. And deep research will give you a detailed report, but you are limited on how many deep researches you can run each month. To share a piece of chat, you can simply click on the share button and it's going to just share a public link to the chat. You can create this link. You can copy it to your clipboard, and even though it says it's failed to copy, it did copy. And if you open a private tab where you're not logged in, you can see that it's a chatgpt.com/share link. And if you click on to visit that, this is what people will see. So this said this is a copy of a conversation between ChatGPT and Anonymous, and they can see the whole chat, even the references and everything. And if they want to, they can just keep continuing on this chat. And if you want to store one of your prompts as a GPT for later reusability and create a knowledge base to it as well, you can click on GPTs here, and on the top right, you can either click on create or you can just search other people's GPTs. There are some features, these rotate every week, and you can search GPTs. There are like millions of them. It's like an app store. So you can create your own as well, where you can enter a name for your GPT, you can add a description, and for the instructions, this is where you should be writing the prompt. Now I'm going to show you one of my GPTs to show you how you can use this feature. A GPT that I use pretty often is writing workshop offers. And if I click on edit GPT, you will see what this does. So it's very, very simple. It says you are a workshop proposal writer assistant tasked with writing proposals with a high success rate of being accepted by SMBs unless stated otherwise. Your task is to write an outline of a workshop proposal with the topics we'll discuss during the workshop. Key instructions: respond in the same language as the user's first response, because sometimes I quote these in Hungarian and not English. Make the proposal detailed, 1 to 2 pages. Highlight key topics, but don't make it dry. It's very, very simple, but it works really efficiently. So I can just copy in an email conversation about what we talk about for the workshop, and this will automatically write that for me. If you want, you can also upload files. So here in the knowledge section, you can upload the files. You can select any file you want, but I recommend you only select like PDF, docx, and so on, because the images will kind of like disappear even if it's like a PDF. Then you can select capabilities, like do you want it to be able to do web search, Canvas, 4o image generation, or code interpreter and data analysis. And make sure that if you have knowledge files and those are sensitive and you share this GPT with someone else, don't turn on the code interpreter data analysis, because the files can be downloaded from the GPT. So once you're ready to share it with someone, you can click on the share and select either only me, anyone with the link, or GPT store, which means it will appear in the Explore GPTs page and people can search for it and they can start using it. So custom GPT, if you only share it with yourself, it might be better used as making mini AI assistants for certain tasks that you repetitively do, so you don't have to repeat your prompt every single time. If you share it with anyone with the link, it might be a good GPT that you share with your team, or if you put it behind a certain paywall, maybe you have a community where you tell people like, I'm going to give you access to this GPT. That's how you can do it. Or if you put it up on the GPT store and maybe people start searching for it because it has a feature that many people want, then you can build your brand with it, because if thousands of people use it, some of them might actually check out your offers. So you can put that into your instructions, that whenever someone asks about how they can engage with my services, send them to my website at website.com. And then the GPT will start to send people your way. Now let's talk about AI risks and limitations. The most important one is that all AI models are subject to hallucination when they state false facts as truth. And this is very hard to tell if you are not a subject matter expert yourself, because AI tools like ChatGPT can present these facts with a lot of confidence, and it's hard to distinguish. There are 4 main ways that you can do to mitigate this risk. First of all, you can just enter the data in the prompt yourself. So if you are using ChatGPT to maybe write a landing page for a certain product or service, you can just give it all the product documentation or the description of the service. So that way it is not going to hallucinate any of the details. You can ask it to browse for certain sources. Like you can ask it to browse certain business websites, certain libraries. You can ask it even for like PubMed articles if you're asking it to do some medical research for you. So just using your words like, hey, browse legit sources to support your claims and show me those sources or quote those references, that can help a lot. But be careful, because not all models have access to browsing features. And this is especially true on the free plan, that it will give you fake quotations, like fake references to articles that do not even exist, because it's relying on its training data instead of actually browsing the web. You can also use a knowledge base, and inside ChatGPT, you can either create a custom GPT that has access to certain files, or you can set up a project that has access to this as a knowledge base. Or you can also just add, if unsure, say so, and that will help the model to understand that you're not looking for the perfect answer and it should not bluff. You're looking for what it knows. And that's, I would say, 95% reliable, because the model understands its own confidence when it comes to saying the next word in the sequence, but it's not 100%. So even if you add that, just be cautious. And just remember that the responsibility of whatever content you publish online or in a contract or whatever is your responsibility as the creator. It is not OpenAI's responsibility. So we are considering ChatGPT as a tool. You write with ChatGPT. It's not written by ChatGPT. So the responsibility is still yours. Make sure you check the facts and make sure you review every single piece of content or anything that gets out of your hands. The next one is the training, and by default, most AI tools have training on your data turned on, which is a significant privacy and security risk. So I recommend you turn off the training wherever possible, and if you cannot do that, read the fine print on how they handle your data, and if there is something suspicious in there, just don't use that tool and use something else, because you might get into serious trouble. There are a couple of long-term negative effects that I've seen on myself, on working with my students and my clients, and I want to just point out these 5. First of all is dependence. We can get really kind of addicted to asking everything from ChatGPT. And I started asking my friends certain questions, even though I know that ChatGPT would give me a better answer, because I just don't want to depend on ChatGPT all the time. The next one is self-esteem. If AI can do my work, am I worth my salary to a company? Or am I worth the money that my clients are paying me, because they could also just ask the AI? The next one is self-confidence. If I use AI all the time, I'm not going to necessarily get better, not going to sharpen my skills, because AI is just doing all the work. The way you can combat these first 3 is that you can ask the AI to be a Socratic coach, which means it's not going to give you the answers. It's not going to do the task. And you have to explicitly ask it, like, don't do the task for me. Just help me craft my skill, help me get better, and guide me through this process by asking me questions and giving me feedback. So then you can write the marketing copy yourself or whatever you're working on, and then give it to ChatGPT, and then it will give you some answer back. So there are some skills that you might want to get better at. For those, just use AI as a coach. And there are going to be skills that you don't want to get better at and you want to just delegate to someone, like writing a proposal, writing a contract, and things like that. Then you can just give that to an AI to handle it. The fourth one is losing your competitive edge. Because if most of your content and most of your work is done with an AI, then that's going to be the same work that everybody else who has access to that AI is doing. So if you have a competitive edge in your work, because you have a unique perspective on things, you have a unique process that you're doing, you have unique experiences that no one else has, you have emotions. And if you do not let these things influence your work, over time, you're going to lose your competitive edge and you're just going to blend in and you'll probably be ignored. So just be careful with that. And the last one is happiness. I found, this is really, more of a personal thing, that I found that whenever I use AI to help crafting and repurposing the content, I do not feel the same level of accomplishment than when I make the stuff myself. So I think in our business as entrepreneurs, one of the most important things is to have fun. And if we treat knowledge work as like it's a production line and there's no emotion in it, then it's probably gonna decrease our happiness. So AI tools can be used really well to boost productivity, but I don't think that they should be used at a level that they do everything for us and then we are not doing anything that makes us happy. So find out what makes you happy and don't delegate those things to an AI. Now, I recommend all companies, big or small, to create an internal AI policy, which should be like a one-page document that everybody is mandated to read, which lists all the allowed software and which subscription plan they are allowed to use. For example, you cannot use the free plan. We have our team accounts. This is where you can find the login. You are mandated to use that. If there are forbidden topics or tasks to use AI for example, if you want people to communicate to each other without using an AI, maybe you can put that in, like, you're not allowed to use AI to write emails for you. We want to make sure that we are talking between each other as human beings. And you should definitely highlight in that AI policy on how you are using confidential and sensitive information. Where can they upload that? Where can they not upload that? And educate people that these AI tools are being trained on whatever you do with them. And if they experiment with a new AI tool, make sure that they read the terms of service and the privacy policy and how they handle the company's data. All right, now with the negative stuff out of the way, let's focus on prompting AI to get the results you want. Now, this is really just a crash course, and in the workshop and in my courses, we're gonna dive a lot deeper into this. The most important thing is that AI gives you results and responses based on its training and your instructions. So you need to give the AI context about you and your business to get a good response. And I cannot emphasize enough what Ethan Mollick says: to treat the AI like an infinitely patient, enthusiastic new coworker who forgets everything you say with each new conversation. Now, here's my simple framework for the 6 key elements of a good LLM prompt. This is gonna work for every single LLM. These are the kinds of ways that you have to clearly communicate to an AI. First, you have to give it context, tell it what's the persona in the company and so on. Then tell it the task as clearly as you can. Then give it examples. Give it restrictions and boundaries, what it's not allowed to do. Tell it what good looks like. How do you measure success in the response? What format you want it in? And then 6, what steps it should take. Like, should it do some web research before responding? Should it process a file before responding? Should it, once it's responded, also give you a file like an Excel spreadsheet that you can process, and so on. So every workflow is different and each has steps to take. you will, after a while, you will see how many steps of that process you can give to an AI at once, and when is it that you need to break it down into smaller steps. In this video, I want to focus on the first two, which are the most essential parts, and we're going to zoom in on those a little bit. So the first one is the context and the persona. This sets the scene. Who is the AI behaving as, and what is the situation that they are in? Remember, AI forgets everything with each new conversation unless you have the memory, the custom instructions, and the chat transfer. But by default, it forgets everything. So you have to reset the context. The template for this is this. Act as a title who is tone and primary objective. For example, act as a copywriter who is friendly, funny, and informal, and their primary objective is to sell as many cupcakes as they can. And then the task to be done is you just describe the task you want to get done or the question you want to ask. There are common starters like explain, describe, create, write, update, research, translate, summarize, role play, advise, teach, and so on. There's you ask ChatGPT for these common starters, it will give you 100. So, feel free to ask it what are its capabilities. It's not 100% sure on its own capabilities, but it might give you some very interesting use cases that inspire you. So for example, following on the previous prompt, you can give it a task like create the website copy for our newly opened cupcake store in Budapest, Hungary. And just say what you want as clearly as possible, just like to humans. And if having an example for a website copy, maybe your previous website performed really well, then you can give it an example like, hey, here's our website that performed really well, write something similar, and then you just copy paste it in. Or if there are restrictions like, hey, make sure that it's only 5 folds long and it's not a very long sales letter. These are the things that you have to articulate. Every task is different. You probably already know how you do what you do, so you need to articulate that. In our workshops, we'll dive deep into how you write these prompts, and I'm going to also teach you a lot of different ways and tricks on how you can guide an entire conversation with ChatGPT to really get good results. Now, to wrap up, I'm going to show you some real-world use cases that I did as an entrepreneur in the last month. And hopefully that will inspire you to do crazy things with ChatGPT. The first one that I wanted to show you is about research, how you can use AI to research things for you. So for example, I asked act as a diligent AI tool researcher and find me AI tool options for video editing. I'm looking for something that can automatically cut out mistakes and retakes from long form videos, and also tools that can repurpose long clips to short form videos. Now, notice how I used ChatGPT o3, which is one of the reasoning models. And what reasoning means is that it's thinking before responding. So if you click on this thought for certain minutes and seconds, you can open it up and you can see a summary of what its thinking was. So it first said to help you with automatic editing, I'll look for AI tools that can cut out mistakes and so on. So it's notifying it understood the question. Then these are the apps or websites that it opened. And then it says, okay, I need a list of AI tools and so on. And then it just keeps going, need to get detailed info on Capwing's magic cut feature. So it's it's going deep into these websites and then comes back and then decides if it needs to do more research or not. So this is almost like a mini deep research in itself. It goes to all of these websites, just keeps going, and then it gave me this response. So after the done, this is the actual response from the model. So it says these are the 2 things that we are looking for. Here are the tools that stand out, why those help, and what are the prices. And then it dives deep into the key options. So you can open each of these tools and it will open up the website. And then you can look into whether what GPT said to you is actually real. So you can just go back and find out which one is the best for your use case. And to check which model was used to generate a response, on the bottom, you can also see these circular arrows. And if you hover over that, it says switch model 03, right? So here you can, if it says try again 03, it means it used 03 previously. So you could just regenerate this with GPT-4o with a different model. Any of the models that you can use them here as well. And you can give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. You can ask it even to read aloud, or you can just copy the entire thing without having to highlight it this way. Another example that I unfortunately cannot show you in its entirety because it's sensitive. I just uploaded a speaker engagement as a document that was a contract that a client sent over, and I asked proofread this contract for me, anything incorrect, off, or one-sided. And then it thought about it and gave me a really good analysis. And then after the analysis, I said, okay, write a friendly sounding email about the fee contradiction and about the license overlap. Everything else I'm good with. And then it gave me an email that I could review, change, and I sent that over. Now, this is also a little bit of a sensitive prompt. I'm going to read this for you from the beginning, leaving out the details. I just received the following email, and just so you have some context, this is about an X $1,000 consulting project that was split between X for a certain part and then X or Y for another part. And then I asked, like, here's the email that I got. Just tell me, like, help me think through this problem. Don't try to solve it for me. Just ask questions like a Socratic business coach. And then I copy pasted the email, and it gave me a lot of really good questions. Unfortunately, again, I cannot get into that because it's a little bit sensitive, but I wanted to highlight these 2 lines where I asked it to just be my business coach and just help me solve this issue. Now, this one is a little bit less business related. I asked, how can I ask for a hardware for autopilot hardware retrofit into my hardware 3 Tesla Model 3 in Europe? I have FSD bought at the time of purchase. Because I know that Elon Musk said something that they will do this, but I didn't have the time to actually like go through these websites and just find this for me. And it gave me the short version. The upgrade isn't on the menu yet, even though Elon confirmed it on a certain day that every owner who bought FSD will get the next gen computer for free. Tesla has not opened the retrofit program in Europe or anywhere yet. Okay, what can I do today? These are the things I can do. Expect a long wait. Okay, I got it. And then it is like why the detail, and you can see that it actually links to articles. So if I click on that, then I can go and actually read this. Right, so I can go and basically do like ask about any topic, like what's the current situation, and then it will go and reason, think, and it's gonna browse the web for this information and then bring me back the result. Another one you can use this for is to get some kind of insight from a book that you maybe remember, but you don't remember exactly how. So I asked, like, what's the could do, should do, the one thing exercise from the book One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. And then it says, like, here is the exercise. Here's how you should run it step by step. And when I did it, it just worked really well. Another one is about VAT, and it's about using the search features to make business decisions. So my prompt was, from a global revenue perspective for online course companies, what does the research say about adding VAT to purchases and how that impacts conversions and revenue? Currently, I can choose whether to add 27% VAT to purchases made by individuals from non-EU countries and that pay that VAT to the Hungarian government, or balance it with my expense VAT, meaning I can take home more money. If customers see a 27% surplus tax at checkout, how does that impact conversions on an online course membership platform? It thought about it, and the take-home message was that it's totally not worth it, which is what I was expecting, because I would be losing demand by about 40%. So the 27% rise cuts demand by about 40%. And it went through articles on the EU, like it checked whether this is actually real, and then it went to ResearchGate. It browsed like, eMarketer and like Ray Shetty and these websites that I haven't even heard about, and it pulled in some findings from their research, and then it says like it's probably not worth it to do that. And for those of you who are not in the EU, like VAT is pretty complicated here. It's been getting a little bit easier, but understanding all of these VAT laws and what are my obligations as an entrepreneur, doing this kind of research would probably have taken me days to actually do, which means I wouldn't have done it because I have more important things to do. But now I can give it to an AI to like, hey, bring these in for me and just help me figure out this one question. And here it even says like, none of the following is legal advice. Always confirm with your tax advisor or NAV, which is the Hungarian tax authority. Then I kept the chat going. I said, as a Hungarian company selling the above, do I need to keep in mind any rest of the world taxes like GST or sales tax in the US, or everything outside the EU is 0%? And it says like, no, you have to register and you have to keep these things in mind below and above certain thresholds. So I was like, yeah, okay, I will keep this in mind. Stripe is really good because it kind of notifies me about these things. So when it comes to that point, I can just handle it through Stripe. All right. And the last one is 4 different models responding to the same prompt, which is acts as an ethical, high conversion copywriter for an AI educator, which would be me, who teaches entrepreneurs how to use ChatGPT and AI tools for work faster and smarter. I want to promote the new mini course, ChatGPT Prompt Engineering for Entrepreneurs. Give me 3 scroll-stopping headline ideas for emails, 2 versions of a short Facebook ad, A/B test, 1 punchy, 1 emotional, and 3 CTA variations that match each tone. Context about the course. This is a 4-hour deep dive into using ChatGPT and all of its features for business use cases if you're a solopreneur or small business owner. It's highly practical. I demonstrate everything on video. I share the prompts and provide downloadable materials. It's a self-paced course. Accessible with a community membership that gives them access to lots of other stuff like other courses, live Q&A calls, forums, and downloadable AI agent and workflow blueprints. So this is the way that I try to avoid it to hallucinate certain details about the course. So now it gave me scroll stopping email subject lines like 4 hours to hire your first AI assistant, no payroll required. Still typing, stop, prompt, profit, not bad. Turn late night hustle into lightning fast AI workflows tonight. Now let's compare this with Claude, just these 3 headlines, because I also ran this inside Claude 4 and it says, I just turned ChatGPT into my $50 per hour virtual assistant, steal my exact prompts. I think this is a lot better than any of the other 3 headlines here, right? So these are like titles. This is like an email subject line. Warning, your competitor just hired an AI team for $20 a month. The 4-hour ChatGPT masterclass replaced my entire marketing department. I mean, kind of a bold claim, but it's really a scroll stopper for sure. And it's a good headline to put a story around. Now let's see the other one. This was, something went wrong. So this is now GPT-4o. And again, you can see how these are like so plain. Like, it's like vanilla. It's nothing really interesting here. Of course, if I given it more examples of like previous headline ideas that I've written or my best performing ads, it would probably be able to write a lot better copy at the first try. But I just wanted you to notice that Claude 4 is significantly better than any of the GPT models. And the other one that I ran was GPT 4.5, and it's still giving me these kinds of title things. Like what I hate about GPT for marketing stuff is that it always makes the titles like 2 parts. Unlock the secrets of ChatGPT, boost your biz in 4 hours flat. You see, it's like 1 part, 2 part. Whereas with Claude, it just says like the 4-hour ChatGPT masterclass that replaced my entire marketing department. So I recommend that for these use cases, find your best friend on each of these. Like compare Chat, Claude, and Gemini and see what you like. Now, the last thing before we wrap up is OpenAI's image generation feature. Because now in this chat, I can just say, create the visuals for the 2 Facebook ad creatives. And it just created 2 images that I could now test and run as ads. And this is pretty cool. Like mastered ChatGPT in 4 hours, no typo here, good ChatGPT logo, good looking computer. Even the ports are pretty okay on this MacBook. 4 hours. I think this would be like a scroll stopping ad at least. Like you would stop like master ChatGPT in 4 hours. Like what is that? And then there's like a totally different one. Like because your to-do list shouldn't own you. Maybe if it added like an OpenAI logo here, that would be a pretty good ad. Obviously, you cannot run an ad with an OpenAI logo, so maybe this one is not okay as well. But maybe, I don't know, I need to check the meta advertising things on like whether you can use this. You probably can't, but that's the idea. The responsibility is on you as a creator, whether you use this kind of thing or not. But you could ask it like, hey, change that, just remove the ChatGPT logo because we cannot use that. And that's it. If you're coming to the workshop, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you set up your account. Make sure you do and you have the Plus subscription. And if you're just browsing on YouTube, just check out this next video and I'll see you in the future.